Welcome everyone, I am Tock Custom, and today we've got a special guest for this video.
Hi everyone, I'm Melanie Jasmine from Dallas, Texas.
Melanie is a terrific cosplayer, and she does lots of different mixed media builds and fashion. And what are we going to be doing in this video?
Today we are making some really cute summer dresses.
Yes, so a very simple garment for a lot of the ladies that ask for more women's garments on this channel. All right, so we're going to show you what you need to get started right now.
Let's go!
All right, so this is everything we need to make our dress, and what all do we have here?
We have the Vogue pattern V9252.
Yep.
We went ahead and pre-cut it into a size 6 so that it fits my measurements. We have a bit of a knit fabric, very cute.
Yes.
And some extra stuff like pins, rotary blade, and the scissors.
Yep, and then you'll just need your favorite sewing machine and thread and whatever else you use. Okay, so Melanie wanted style B, which is all the same fabric like this. Also, this pattern calls for a 22-inch zipper in the back of the bodice, which we're going to try to just skip that altogether.
We're not going to try, we're just going to skip it.
Right, so we're going to see how that goes. Hopefully it works. So anyway, we'll follow along with the pattern and just show you what it looks like on the fabric rather than these pictures. All right, so we're getting ready to cut up the fabric, and Melanie noticed that when she held it up, it's all rainbowy, and it's like,
look at that.
You know, color shifting in the light, which is really cool. All right, so we are ready to cut this out. So Melanie has prepared the pattern, which we are going to iron out, so it's nice and flat. Also, I have done a video on how to read and create your own pattern based on a store-bought pattern, so if you need to watch that, please check it out. Otherwise, we are going to cut all of these out with the fabric folded in half so that we get mirror copies of everything.
All right, so we have cut all of the panels, and we're going to go back to the instructions to see what the first step is.
Okay, so looking at the pattern, our first 4 steps are assembling the bodice. So Melanie has laid out the fabric just like this.
So from here, we are going to probably pin all of this down. We are going to make all of the notches match each other. And as you know, it is very important to pin this because knit fabrics tend to stretch a lot.
All right, so we're just going to pin all these panels together and then show you what we're going to sew.
All right, so now we finish pinning the bodice, the front parts. This is the center front, and these are the side panels for the front. It looks like this, and we're going to stitch it with a stretch stitch.
So when we feed it in the machine, it's going to look like that. So Melanie's going to take this to the machine and stitch from the tops all the way along with a stretch stitch at, I think, a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance on both sides right there. We're probably not going to be showing much of the machine stitching in this video since we're doing a full garment build.
There we go, there we go. Done pinning the back panels while Chris is sewing the front. All right, so I finished sewing the front and the back right here. And remember guys, we talked about not using a zipper, which is why I went ahead and I closed this off. But I also left a little bit of extra fabric in case we want to add a button at the very end. Now I'm going to pin the front and the back to finish the bodice.
We're just going to stitch these with a stretch stitch.
Okay.
All right, so Melanie's going to try this on, and hopefully it fits according to the measurements that we picked for the pattern.
Yeah. I may need you to come check on the back.
Yeah. Okay, so this comes all the way up.
Okay, so maybe we can pin the straps then, right?
Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, there's no line. Anyway, so when Melanie tried this on, we were trying to plan out the straps, and I was like, how are we hiding the straps? And then we discovered that there's supposed to be lining for this. So make sure you've got enough fabrics to do a second bodice, because we're basically going to make a copy of this with different fabric that's going to go on the inside of the bodice. Anyway, we're going to very quickly make a lining very fast.
All right, so I finished doing the lining for the bodice. This is literally a replica of this one right here.
So before we can join the bodice to the lining, we have to prepare the straps, and that'll make sense in a second. So anyway, we're going to take our strap panels here, and we're going to fold them right sides together like that. And we're just going to do a really close edge stitch along the open end here, and then we're going to turn it right side out. All right, Melanie's never used the tube turner from Famori Cutlery, so let's see if you can figure this out. So far, so good?
We got somewhere. Then what I'm guessing is you just pinch it, right? And then it's just a worm.
You're some kind of a sewing witch or something.
I am.
Look at that.
A witch. See?
Presto. And you just do the rest by hand. I will iron that flat while you're doing the other one.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is how you turn a tube of fabric.
You want to show us how?
Yeah.
Show us how.
All right, so we're going to join our lining to our bodice. So what we're going to do, I believe, and I will double check my math on this, but right up top here are, I think, our anchor points for our straps. These straps are going to look so cool. So I'm going to pin the straps here in place, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have the lining inside out, so we should be able to see our seams on the outside. I know this is very dark fabric, but hopefully you can see it. Anyway, so we've got our bodice right side out, and then we've got our lining inside out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the bodice itself inside of the lining, which is inside out. So these will end up being right sides together.
When you flip them around, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the right sides are on the inside, so that when we stitch this, and we'll show you exactly how we're going to sew this in a second. Pin that, and then take out my other pin. Hopefully you can see this, but we're going to start pinning the top part of the bodice to the top part of the lining all the way around, and we're going to match up our notches and our seams. So here's our first side seam over here. So we're just going to keep matching those up, and I'll put pins on all of the seams first, and then we will put pins between those, like right between my thumbs right there. But we're just going to do this all the way around until we get back to the front.
Especially with knits, it is important to match your seams first.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's going to be a pain to sew or to pin later on.
And I'm actually going to kind of butterfly the seams open. We're not going to end up serging any of this because it's going to get hidden on the inside. And if I open up the seam like that, it's going to be a lot less bulky when we end up sewing this together. All right, so we just finished pinning this all the way around. So for the sake of explaining what we're going to do, we're probably going to start doing a stretch stitch on one of these seams. We'll probably start from over here, actually. So we'll sew up to the corner, and don't forget our straps are in here. So when we do our stitches over that, that's going to close the strap in while hiding all of the seams on the inside of the bodice. We'll stitch across the top, down the side, coming all the way back up to where we will put our first strap. So the double needles on either side here tell me to stop sewing here and start over here so we can get the strap in the back. And then because we're opting not to do the zipper, Melanie had a great idea to leave this opening. We're going to do pivoted seams here, come down, make a little V, go back up, stop here because the strap goes there, and then all the way back around to where we started. Forgive me if that was overkill on the explanation, but hopefully it helps some of you to make your first dress. All right, so Melanie's gonna do the stitch starting wherever you want and ending at the same spot. All right, so Melanie just did a great job of sewing that into place. I think both of us agreed that if we leave the seam that full length, it's gonna be kind of bulky when we turn this right side out. So there's
look
our
at that.
strap. And if you, if you pinch that, it's kind of puffy,
this is
right?
very thick.
Right. So the way we're going to resolve that is we're going to leave this just the way it was. Melanie had the idea to trim this seam very carefully with a pair of scissors all the way around, right?
Okay, how much do you want me to trim it?
Probably about half the distance between the stitches and the edge of the fabric. So starting with where the straps are, yeah, about maybe a quarter inch or so. Okay, so Melanie's going to turn the lining so it's completely on the inside now.
Ta-da!
She'll take a little finessing, and then when you got that all set, we will press this on our mat.
Yeah, ignore all that.
All right, so we're going to iron this into shape, but because we're concerned we might melt the bat pattern, because it's like this vinyl material, we're going to turn it to the inside so that Melanie can press the lining so it doesn't melt anything, just in case. We'll lay it like this, so we've got, so we can just see the lining, and then I'm going to pull the lining so it's just a little bit on the inside, so that when we press it, hopefully we don't see any lining on the outside.
No, it's fine.
Ow.
You just burnt yourself.
That's a lot of steam. I just melted myself. I didn't burn myself. Steam will get you. Here, you want to do the other side?
Yeah, I will. Here. Get those sharp corners.
Yeah, that's going to look really good. The straps turned out very well.
Oh, actually, yeah.
So now that that's all crisp and clean, hopefully everyone can see on camera how clean that looks on the outside as well as the inside.
So this is the front.
Yep.
And then the inside looks like this.
Let's do a test fit. Now that we've got our lining in, Jasmine, looks like you pinned the straps in place, right?
Yep, in place.
Now we want to do a test fitting to make sure that this fits.
I know these are gonna be a little bit higher.
Oh, you put them at like maximum length.
Yeah, because it was just to keep it in place.
So yeah, we're gonna bring the straps in like half the distance.
Yeah, look at that. You can see it there. Yeah, like
right.
all that.
Like most of this is gonna be gone. Okay, so up top is gonna tighten up, but then
here I notice, and maybe you ladies notice that too, that sometimes you buy something on your size, but you just don't have enough meat in your bones. And but we're gonna fix this right here.
You tell me how much of the side seams do you want to bring in?
Honestly, I think it's gonna be about 1 inch on each side, but it's just going to be like these and these.
And this stretches, so if it is like skin tight, it should end up looking good. Like
it's fine.
Like a tight t-shirt.
So
I think we have a method of fixing this with tightening up both the lining and the bodice seams all at the same time. So let's show people how to do that.
We are going to bring it in about 1 inch on each side. In order to do that, we have lining, so...
We'll probably end up doing it all the way through. All right, so the whole thing is inside out, and we've removed the lining from the inside of the bodice. So this is the lining over here, and this is the bodice here. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna sew about 1 inch in from the stitches you had done, all the way through, keeping it flat in this seam here, and we're just gonna keep sewing all the way to the other side here. We're gonna do the same thing, 1 inch in all the way over here.
Now, do we have to get rid of the butterflies in order to do that?
No, because we're just going to end up, once we sew through here, we're going to trim all that extra fabric away, so there's not going to be any bulk in there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it'll feel weird when you get to this part here.
Yeah.
But just do your best to keep it really flat and just sew right through that, and then when we trim that all away, it won't feel like there's anything weird going on there.
I'm going to let you do this part.
All right. Okay, so Melanie convinced me to actually film this part.
Actually, a lot of women struggle with that type of alterations in dresses.
Right.
So show us, or let's show everyone how to do it.
So we opened up, like we said, the bodice and the lining separately. So about 1 inch in from the stitches we had previously done is about right here. So all we're gonna do is just, with a stretch stitch, sew this right along that. And it's always best to just kind of bring it in a little bit at a time. I think we're gonna hit our mark pretty accurately here. But I'm just making sure that we've got the fabric really flat. If it's not totally flat, you're gonna get some weird like puckers and pleats that you don't want. And now we're going over the top. This is the very top of where the bodice and the lining are sewn together. So we're just gonna sew right straight through that, even though it seems weird and feels weird. Now the lining wants to bunch up, so I'm just making sure it's really flat. And I'm just kind of letting the machine pull this knit fabric. I'm not stretching it at all. I just want this to sew very naturally. Now we're getting to the bottom of what the lining will be. So off the end, and we have just tailored one entire side equally so that they'll still fit inside of each other. So hopefully you can see the stitches, and there's all this extra fabric in here that we'll just end up trimming away with scissors in a moment. So anyway, I'm gonna do the other side. All right, so we're done with those, and we're gonna bring this back to the table and show you what we do next.
So I just tried it on, and it fits perfectly. We are gonna go ahead and turn it around and just cut all of the excess fabric that we talked about before.
Right, okay.
So you can see here how it actually divides. It's pretty obvious lining outside.
Yeah, okay, so there's the seam that we had just done. If you don't mind, since I'm standing on this side, I can just trim this down to about 1/4 inch. And being very careful in the middle. All right, perfect. And yeah, we just successfully tailored both of these by about 1 inch on either side. So keep in mind, when you bring it in a whole inch, you're actually taking away 2 inches. And we did that twice. So we just took out 4 inches. Okay, cool. So now, since we already pressed this, it should just kind of go back into shape pretty easily. And before we move on, I just want to mention we're not going to attach the back of the straps because we want to see how much the skirt part weighs down the bodice before we actually put these permanently into place. So before we start building the skirt, we're just going to pin the lining to the bottom of the bodice here all the way around, and then we're just going to do a basted stretch stitch, just to keep those together.
There we go.
Okay.
I think this is all done. Do you want me to get this done?
Yeah,
Or-
so
okay.
just a stretch stitch all the way around, and make sure you don't do a straight stitch so this, you know, will still flex around your waist properly. Now, we're going to use all of the notches from the pattern to match up which panels go with which seams. So we are going to figure that out and start pinning those long edges together. And I think because we're not doing a zipper for the center back, which is 13, this one, we just cut it on a fold line, but we have to account for what should have been a seam allowance. So hopefully this makes sense. We're gonna do a dart at the top center of the center back panel by 5/8 seam allowance.
And this is again to compensate for what we took in on the top.
This is to compensate for not doing the zipper.
Oh, never mind. That's
But
different.
she's right. We also have to compensate for the alterations we made to the bodice, so that so we'll have to go in an extra inch on either side of one of our panels. So hopefully all that makes sense. I'll hopefully edit this in a way that makes sense.
I was going to suggest doing straight stitches on the sides just because we're not going to need or use the stretch capabilities of this knit for the skirt.
Plus, it'll save a ton of thread and go way faster. Okay, so we're gonna do just straight stitches down all of these seams.
Yep, let's go.
Okay. So we finished doing our front and back skirt panels independently. She's wearing hers. And now we have to join the fronts to the backs. And I believe the seams that we're going to be using to join are the ones that we have to alter in to fit
because they're on the side.
the bodice, yeah. So we should be able to just account for 5/8 of an inch plus an extra inch when we do the original seam. And then something we have not done yet is we haven't serged any of our seam, which we will do from now on because there's not lining on the skirt. If you want to lay your fabric right side up, because we're going to go right sides together. Oh, it's shorter in the front, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We can make it a little bit shorter, make it like dramatic.
The
what I was
pattern,
talking about.
like the back is way longer than the front, which, who knows, that might look cool when we do a test fitting, but if you don't like it, we can just adjust it. All right, anyway, I'm just pinning one of the sides together along this raw edge, and she's gonna do the other side. And Melanie mentioned this earlier, but I'm pinning my corners first and then my notch. Make sure that's matched up, and then I just kind of pin the rest so that nothing will pleat anywhere. Anyway, yeah, so you can do these stitches since it's all together, yeah.
We have a skirt.
Oh, the fabric looks cool.
Or a very cool poncho.
A poncho.
Yeah, look at that. It can be like a side poncho.
I think we should just stop sewing and just keep it like that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So we just, because we didn't show it, we altered the two side seams by an inch on either side, and then we serged all of our inside seams on the new Airflow 3000, which I'm excited about. All right, so here we are at the table, and Melanie has a skirt part, center front, right, facing up, and the skirt is up, upside down. Now we have to get ready to start pinning and matching the bodice to the skirt so we can get ready to do that big final stitch. So how are you going to go about doing that?
I already have my center front marked.
Right.
So I'm just gonna slide it in here.
Okay.
And this part of the fabric of the skirt, it is touching this. I like to describe it as a sandwich.
Right.
So we make a little sandwich in here, and once we pin it and sew it, we're going to sew at once 3 layers of fabric. Because remember, we have our skirt, we have our top, and we have the lining. So this will allow us to make just one perfect stitch.
Melanie's gonna pin all of the seams, because all the bodice seams and the skirt seams are all gonna match up all the way around, and then we'll show you how we got ready to do that stitch.
So now we're going to do a basting stitch and serge it, right?
Well, actually, we'll do a stretch stitch because this is going to be going around your waist, so we want to make sure it stays stretchy around your waist.
Okay, so we're doing...
And according to all of our alterations, this should fit you pretty well.
Yeah, in theory, and I think it will. I'm pretty sure it will.
So yeah, this is so we're going to stitch all the way around in a circle and then serge all the way around. And I'll show that so you guys can see how it looks. If you're an absolute beginner, this is a great way to do sleeves and, I don't know, dresses and things like that. So go ahead and slide that little guy off, and we're just going to wrap this big circle of fabric around the arm so it flows all the way around. Anyway, since this is a knit, Melanie is going to use a stretch stitch, which is number 4 on the dial. She's just going to start and sew all the way around in a circle until she gets back to where she started. Alright, so Melanie just finished the entire bodice to skirt seam on the inside, and now she's going to serge it. We're going to take a moment to press a hem into shape, and we're not going to do a full rolled hem. We're just going to do a single, about almost an inch or so, something like that, and just press it all the way around, and there's a lot of fabric, so this will take a moment. Anyway, we're almost done pressing the hem, and been instructed by Melanie that we're just going to do a straight stitch to hem this into place. And I think both of us agreed that we were going to stitch it from the inside to make sure that we don't miss that hem. Alright, so Melanie just did all
Look at that.
That looks so cool.
That
I
looks...
can actually see the colors
look
now.
at that.
Yeah. So Melanie just did the hem all the way around, and on the outside it looks great. The hook and eyes I had were hilariously large, so we picked this fancy little black and gold button. So we are going to do a buttonhole, and I've done demos on this before, but we're going to set the size by putting the button in there. That fits. I'm just matching up the front edge of the buttonhole with pretty close to the edge of the knit fabric, close to the top, and hopefully this works. Alright, I'm definitely having to guide this with my fingers a little bit. Let's see. Well, it might be hard to see it, but that absolutely worked.
Yay.
So yeah, I'll open that up with a seam ripper, and because we're using a shank button, I can't do this on the machine, so I will hand sew this probably off camera because it would be really boring to show. So we figured out that we want the straps to be about an inch long, which is not very long. So we cut these to 2 inches, right? And I pre-pressed where they're going to be inserted in the back. So all we have to do is just put it in the slot, and then stitch the whole thing shut, and it will hold it all together. And I can do a straight stitch because this doesn't need to stretch here. Okay, so back stitch. And so we're sealing up the opening as well as stitching the strap into place. So that's done, and just to make sure this is extra strong so the thing doesn't fall apart while you're wearing it, I'm gonna just like turbo bar stitch this. That's not going nowhere. Yeah.
Oh no.
Now, all we have to do is sew our shank button onto this here, and then clean up any loose threads and open the buttonhole, and we're done. I think it looks fantastic.
I love how it flows. Look at that. I think we did really well, and we also took forever because we're both very perfectionists, and we've been sewing for a while. So it was fun to just kind of balance each other out on how perfect we want to be on everything that we do.
Can I get a peek at the top back where the zipper would have been? I just want people to see that the button ended up being a huge success.
Yeah, look at that. Final twirl.
Yeah, final twirl. Oh, that looks so
look at
cool. That. So we're getting ready to shoot our outro, and I can't
He's
even
just too excited.
focus right now because the lights hitting this dress the way it is incredible. I'm so excited this went this well.
We got the perfect fabric.
What am I supposed to say? This was a lot of fun. I know we were like hyper focused, but thank you so much for coming and doing a video with me here today. I
had a lot of fun. I love this fabric, and it's really fun to work with other creatives that are as, perfectionists, as I am. My website is mjasmine.com. Emma as in Melanie, and Jasmine as Princess Jasmine, mjasmine.com.
Hopefully I will put all the links and text and animations on screen now. Anyway, big thanks to Melanie. Thank you so much. Please check out her work. She's a terrific artist. Tons of great cosplay stuff. If you have any questions about this project or this video, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye!